एक तो स्वागत है गुफ्तगू प्रोग्राम ਦੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਿਰਾਸਤ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਹੈਰੀਟੇਜ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਦੇ ਆਰਕੀਟੈਕਟ ਮੋਸ਼ੇ ਸਾਫਦੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਇਜ਼ਰਾਈਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੋਏ ਇਜ਼ਰਾਈਲੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮੂਲ ਹੈਗਾ origin ਹੈਗਾ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਬੋਸਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਲੇਸਡ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਬੋਸਟਨ ਬੇਸਡ ਵਰਲਡ ਰਿਨਾਊਂਡ ਆਰਕੀਟੈਕਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੂਰੀ ਚਿਹਰਾ ਮੋਰਾ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਹੈਰੀਟੇਜ ਕੰਪਲੈਕਸ ਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ Moshe, another thing that actually people of Punjab or people of this country don't know about you because since this being the first project that you're doing in India, you carry a lot of experience behind you in all the variety of projects ranging from educational institutions to museums to hotels to resorts to urban centers and all
airports.
that. Yeah, airports. So tell me about the kind of interest that what kind of projects interest you? Like this being a cultural, project, but you've been doing commercial ones. You've been doing city centers. Now, was it a different experience in some way or the other?
Well, first I have a very diverse practice and I pride myself on it because I like designing something I've never designed before. I like doing a museum, but I've never done a Sikh museum. I like doing an airport when it's the first airport I've done because you go back to first principles. And I have done almost every building type. I think the only one I haven't is a hospital. But also I have had the good fortune to be born in the East, in Israel, to grow up there, immersed in the Mediterranean culture, to then be taken to Canada as a young man, to study architecture there, to work with Louis Kahn. In fact, one of my apprenticeship was working on the Institute of Management in Ahmedabad, which is how I began learning about architecture from Kahn, who also did the Capitol building in Dhaka.
So you have worked in Bangladesh also, but for
Yes.
greater part of your career in your life, you have been working based in Canada.
And United States. Canada and United States. In 1978, I went to head the design school at Harvard University, the urban design school at Harvard University.
Right.
So at that point, I based myself in Boston, and I've been there ever since. But my practice has always been geographically dispersed.
Okay.
And that was a challenge because
Yeah.
what do? Do you design the same type of building in Jerusalem, in Singapore, in Los Angeles, in the Punjab? I started feeling that buildings need to grow from their own roots, from the culture, from the setting. And as such, I became a student of local place, of local custom, of the building materials, of just the whole heritage, and trying to find a contemporary way of expressing it all. So that my buildings seem to be quite different. The buildings in Jerusalem are built also with golden stone. They are rooted in the culture there.
Tell me about Jerusalem. It's been told that you are the person who was involved in the restoration of the old city buildings, and then there was a new city and the urban city centers that were coming up. Then you had to create a sync between the two, right?
Created Mamilla, which
Right.
is outside the old city, which harmonizes with the new city.
Right.
But then in Singapore, I had to design a project of 10 million square feet, 1 million square meters, mixed use, tourism, hotels, convention center, shopping, and that's when you get to high density. And my career began showing that you can build high density apartments and make them like houses with gardens in the sky, in the air, and so on. I really believe that the challenge today for an architect is to build high density for the mega cities, for Shanghai, Singapore, Sao Paulo, Jakarta, and even though it's high density, make it human. And that is the challenge for the day.
So today, how many projects are underway, and how many projects have you completed? I think 43 and 44 that you have completed, including this.
Through my career, there were probably 50 projects, but this has been an auspicious year.
Okay.
Because I completed 5 major projects in 1 year, by coincidence.
2011 happens to be a great year.
2000
And I think in your
yes.
career, not so many projects in the same year. Huh?
Correct. Never actually in the same year. 5 major projects. Singapore Marina Bay Sands, Exploration Place Museum of American Art in Arkansas, Kaufman Performing Arts Center in Kansas City, United States Institute of Peace headquarters on the Mall in Washington, and the Khalsa Heritage Center. So it's been an amazingly exciting year. 5 very different projects, all opening at the same in the same year, one after the other.
And then tell us about your experience working here. Now, it's been 12 years. You have been coming here for a lot of, many number of times you must have been visiting, and the kind of slow pace must have, kind of hurt you many a time that what is happening, things are not, getting, going for whatever reasons they were. But did it irritate you at a certain point in time that where have I, put my foot in? And maybe there were reasons for people to believe that maybe we don't know whether the whole complex would see the light of the day.
I smile and say I had more hair when we started 12 years ago, and it was not as white as it is now. The fact of the matter is, complicated cultural projects, they take time.
Yeah.
They take 10 years. This project took 12 years. Yad Vashem, the Holocaust
Museum,
took 10 years.
But the 10 years took were not because of the bureaucratic hurdles around. No.
Process and funding, and it takes time.
Okay.
The Crystal Bridges, the Museum of American Art that I just opened, was sponsored by the heirs of the Walmart fortune. Funds were available. There was no funding issue, but it took us 8 years. It takes time. Now, this is not to say that there have not been in this project moments of extraordinary frustration.
Extraordinary frustration.
And
that happens with every architect, around the world. You come across with,
we began working with one government, then there was an election, we had a new government. It took some time until I had the opportunity to meet with the chief minister who was elected, convince him that this was a worthy project, to get his support. Then we went on building again. Then there was another change in government. There were contractors who came and who went. There was a year where we had no funds, and we stopped. And the cows were walking around here. And I was worried.
What was the state of mind? With this kind of,
students of architecture. You want to be an architect, you have to learn to persevere. You have to stick by it. You can't get tired, you can't get depressed, and you can't get frustrated and walk away. I just stuck by it. I believed in the project, and so I stuck by it. Whatever it needed, I stayed with it.
And we were talking about the internal exhibits. Since you're not much involved with the kind of the exhibits that are going to be mounted and whatever things are going to happen, you were involved. Okay.
I always believe that exhibits and architecture must be integrated. In Yad Vashem, I worked with the exhibit designer from the beginning. Here, as I began working on the building, I told the chief minister, we must bring the exhibit design team at the beginning so we can work together. We can share ideas. We understand their needs, they understand our needs. Then we began with the Design Institute from Ahmedabad, which later on went on to Design Habit Group. But we worked they showed us what they're doing, we modified the space, we changed the circulation to suit them, they changed some of the things to suit and to take advantage of our spaces, real collaboration.
That kind of synergy was the essence of how you get the projects on.
Otherwise you get a black box, you see a building and the exhibits have nothing to do with the building.
And you feel at the end of the day, the product that we have in front of us, the great monument that we have, it actually quintessentially signifies what it was supposed to signify.
Look, an architect always is seeking perfection. So I can go around and say the stone wasn't done right, and it's too bad that the landscaping here is not properly done. But that's our obsession. Right now I'm sitting here looking at that building, the exhibits in it, seeing the reaction of the people, I'm very happy. I think I don't want to quote the President Bush, but mission accomplished.
So mission accomplished, and it seemed to be a mission impossible at a certain point in time.
That is true.
Yeah. And then any more projects that you are keen? Have anybody approached you other than
We've been
Punjab?
approached by private sector. We are doing 2 projects for the Tata Group, residential in Mumbai and in Bangalore. We've been approached about some educational projects, management institute that we're looking at. The chief minister has told me he would be very happy if I did more projects in Punjab.
Exactly.
And we hope that these things will develop. I have a great deal of affection for India, and I hope that we continue to design for India.
And what is your advice, apart from the fact that you want it to be professionally managed by competent people and core experts? What do you like to suggest and advise to the government?
I have one constant advice. You have a building that could work as a great institution. Create the institution, put the people in place, put them in place, and give them the resources to create a great institution. So a few years from now we come back, there's a beautiful building, but there's a great program in it, and people come because of the content. Without content, we will have
Nothing.
No institution.
Nothing worthwhile. And the kind of people that would be flocking here, coming here, because this is a place which has got a lot of religious congregations happening, especially in certain parts of the year. No?
Yes.
For most part of the year, the things are not as crowded. So this is a matter of concern that how would people go, because there is a certain limit to the kind of the crowd that can visit at a certain point in time. And that's one thing that's going to be challenged for the
We'll have to
authorities.
deal with this. There'll be the days where there's a few 100,000 people in town.
Yeah.
They won't all be able to go through.
Yeah.
And you'll have to ration it and then move through. There'll be the days where there's not that many people in town, though I've come here now for 12 years. And even on the off years of no festival, off month of no festival, there's thousands of people here.
Consider, yeah.
And it doesn't take much. Also, I think in time the word will be out. Sikhs coming to Punjab from abroad, the expatriates will come and visit. I think tourists will start hearing about it. So I think you're going to have a new kind of traffic here of people who actually say, oh, I'm in Punjab, I have to go and see this. I've heard about that, and I hope that that grows with time so that you have a mix of many, many, many types of visitors.
And there is another big challenge, because people are oftentimes try to kind of, they kind of mix it up with a religious place, for instance, because a lot of religious connotation is there. So they would expect, certain things are there in a manner that they should be thrown open to all of things like that. But we have to tell the world that this is a museum, and you need to maintain and regulate it.
It's not a Gurdwara where anybody can walk in. It is a museum. It has to be ticketed. It has to be rationed, etc. And it will take some time and some education to get people to understand that. But I often reflect on the fact that with the Sikhs, there is the ambiguity of being a religion and a people. This is a similar ambiguity that the Jews have. They're a people and they're a religion. Can you be a Jew and not believe in God? Many people say yes, you can, because it is a people. It's a nationhood as well. So this ambiguity of being sacred and being secular, to me the most important thing is that it's spiritual. And as the place is spiritual and the programs within it is spiritual, they'll respond to the religious, and they'll respond to those who are not follow the faith. And it'll work itself out. I'm quite confident about that.
It has to work itself out. And again, since we're not getting enough light and we're almost through with that talk, it has been a wonderful pleasure, Mr. Moshe, being here, talking to you. It's a wonderful monument that you have created. I think we congratulate on behalf of the entire the Sikh masses who must be following your interview, and they must be pretty elated to see you and hear from you these kind of words. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Moshe Safdie साहब, renowned architect, जिन्होंने कि अपना मिशन पूरा कर ਦਿੱਤਾ, मिशन accomplished, इन्होंने शब्द इस्तेमाल किए हैं। उम्मीद करांगे ना गलबात ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਚੰਗੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਲੱਗੀ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ। feedback@ptcnetwork.tv ਸਾਡਾ ਈਮੇਲ ਆਈਡੀ ਹੈ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਗੁਫ਼ਤਗੂ ਦੇ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਬਾਰੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਭੇਜੋ। ਲੈਣੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ। ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਬਣੇ ਰਹੋ।